I'm going to go over an old test that I did that's very similar to the test that you are going to be taking tomorrow on your word parts. And so I want you to, as we go through, you're going to fill this in, and I'm going to have the sub collected at the end of the period as evidence of your work. But it's to show you kind of what you need to be able to do for your test tomorrow. So you can't really study for the first part. I'm going to give you a reading passage. And after reading the reading passage, it's going to ask you to compare some information. Now, the word parts that were being reviewed on this test were hydra, aqua, and mar or mer. So for this test, I found an article that was about hydrokinetics and hydroelectricity. So I'm going to pause this. You're going to take a second. I want you to hydrokinetics. Read the paragraph and then jot a couple things down, and then we'll come back together and see what you came up with. All right, so here is what I came up with. For hydrokinetics and hydroelectricity, they both, and I didn't put this, but they use water to create electricity, and that electricity provides energy, and both of them are like renewable resources, which is a problem when we think about energy in our world. Hydrokinetics uses the natural water flow, while hydroelectricity uses dams to create a flow that spin a turbine. The other thing I can see is they both have turbines. This turbine, it described it as 2 feet in diameter, and it's lightweight and durable. This paragraph went on to talk a little bit about it being non-polluting, that it has dams that can block and harm fish, and that it can cause rivers to dry up. So I'm pulling out just the important information as I look at the 2 different types of energy. Then it's going to ask you what text structure. So your text structure could be compare, contrast, cause and effect, description. This one happens to be compare and contrast. So I will pull something that has one of our word parts that you're studying in an article, and that's what you'll have to do. The next part of this says, identify 2 pieces of evidence from the article that support each side of the argument. So I'm going to pause this again. I want you to take the time to go back and do that, and after you have it filled in, come check back in. All right, so I went back to that article, and I looked at just the part, that second paragraph specifically talked just about hydroelectricity. And if you're looking at keywords here, it talks about supporters and critics, and that helps me figure out evidence for and supportive and against. And so you'll see I quoted, not the whole sentence. I don't want to copy that whole sentence down. I just want to copy the evidence part. So it said it was a renewable source of energy. Oops, I think I did this wrong. I did this across, but this should have gone here. And this one should go there. It was a renewable source of energy, and it has a low operating cost, versus why people are against it, because it can block and harm fish, and it can cause rivers to dry up. Okay, so that will be the first part. There will be a little bit of a reading component to it. The second part is actually looking at the word part. So I'm going to tell you, you need to know the definition of the roots. I'm going to ask you, what does sign mean? And you need to have that definition made or known. So hydra means water, aqua means water, and mar means sea. It says, then write 2 words that contain that root not located somewhere else on this test. So somewhere on this test, so we've already talked about hydroelectricity and hydrokinetics, so I can't use that. And then there are some words in the multiple choice part, so I can't use any of these. So I'm just going to do mar as an example, but I could say mermaid and submarine. And then I would find 2 words for hydra and 2 words for aqua. Okay. I will tell you the other part of yours will be matching. You're also working on suffixes and prefixes, so that part will be matching, but the roots you need to know the definitions of, and I think that there are 6 of them. Okay. So for the last part of the test, it says use the chart to, oops, it's going to be to the right for you. And these contain word parts that we didn't study that you're going to find in some of these words. And it says circle the meaning, circle the word part in the word. So for example, in phonograph, there's a word part phone. and then I circled the other word part, graph. Not every single word is going to have a word part. We talked about how some parts have spellings, and some we just won't have definitions for. So you're only going to focus on the ones that you studied or that are in this chart. Then you're going to circle the meanings in the definitions column. So I know that phone means sound, and graph means to write or record. So a phonograph must be a device that writes or records sound. Okay, so my actual words on my test, I'm going to go through, and I know that hydra is my word part. I'm going to circle it. And hydra is a word part here. I see graph. So I'm going to circle that. And I'm going to be pretty picky about your circling, just so you know. Aqua. ER, because that's up here. Hydra. And then I see OUS. Mar. And then ER. Aqua again. And then up here I see duct. So again, here I'm seeing some parts that aren't circled. Hydra again. And phone, PHON. And then trans. And mar. So what I need to do is try and figure out matching these words and these definitions over here. So over here I see a device used for locating sound underwater. Well, I know that phone means sound, and I know that my word's either going to have hydra or aqua because it talks about water. So I want to go over here and I'm looking for something that has hydra and aqua and phone. Oops, sorry, hydra and phone. So let's see, hydrophone. So a hydrophone must be it must be a device used for locating sound, phone, and water, underwater rather. My next one is hydrography. So I'm looking over here, going to look for one that has something to do with water, and graph means write or record. Now, it might not actually say write or record. We'll have to kind of think about that. Oh, and this one does actually say record. But it might say written by or recording. There can be prefixes and suffixes added. All right, and then water. So hydrography must be the branch of science that records the Earth's water surface. And I would go through the test continuing to do that. I would look for my definitions. I see characterized by. Characterized by means OUS, and water is hydra or aqua. So I'm looking for something that ends with OUS and has hydra aqua, and so that one has to be C. A person who navigates a ship on a sea. A person who, I see one who or a person who. A ship in the sea. C has to do with mar or mer. So I'm looking for a word over here that has mar and mer and ER. So that one has to be D. A natural layer of rock that filters water as it passes through. So let's say, I don't know what that one is. I'm not sure. I know it's got water, but I'm kind of stuck. I'm going to skip that one. Do process of elimination. Okay, and I'm going to go back to another one. A man-made channel that leads water again from its source. I see lead up here. So that's here. So I'm thinking my word has to have duct in it and one of my water definitions, and I have aqueduct right here, so that's got to be F. So it might be good if you kind of scribble these out after you use them if you know for sure, because again, that gives you some process of elimination. All right, a mechanical device that uses the movement of water. Okay, so I have water up here. And I don't see a mechanical device. So let's go to the last one. Of or involving something across the sea. I've got C, and I know that trans means across. So I need something with trans and mar or mer, and that's transmarine. So now I've got it narrowed down, and I've got two things here. A natural layer of rock that filters water as it passes through, or a mechanical device that uses the movement of water. Well, coming back up here, a person who or one who, that could also be something who or something that. And I think that that's something that helps filter water. If I'm not sure, I'm going to make my best guess. I know I've heard about hydraulics before in a car or in some kind of machinery, and that's a mechanical device. So I think that one's going to be G. All right, so this is what your test is going to look like. You are going to turn this into the sub when you're done. Make sure your first and last name are neatly written at the top. Again, all the answers are in the screencast, so I expect you to take your time, look at the answers. This is how you're practicing. And then it might be a good idea maybe to make some flashcards to help you. I'll do a flashcard set in Quizzes and put it in I'm not on Quizzes, in Quizlet, and put it in Google Classroom for you to study. But that's what you need to be studying in preparation for this test.